Good evening again. Here we are on another Saturday night. If you guys can hear me, somebody just say so. I've had a few issues in the past of having my mic muted. And Dick Berg, that is. The answer is there is a way to pop out the chat. If you set your screen up so that you have the video and then the chat on the right. If you go over to the upper right-hand corner, there's a triple dot menu. In there, you'll see pop-out chat. If you have another monitor, you can move that over to the other monitor and then type in the chat with your other screen. Otherwise, if you're full screen and the whole thing's covered up by me. So, thank you, Stevie. Okay, good. All right. Well, tonight's topic, as you no doubt already know, is ACP observing plans. Everybody uses them. Oh, by the way, this is the first of a two-part set of programs. This one will cover ACP. The next one will cover ACP Scheduler and how to make it work for you. So we'll stick with the ACP Live Observing this time. All right. One other small bit of trivia here, and that is, if you're watching and you want to help us out and help yourself out, if you'll just subscribe here to the video where you can see it, once you click that button, you'll see you'll see that you subscribed, and then if you click this bell like that, you'll be able to see that. You'll get notifications of videos when they are scheduled. Hold on, let me unsubscribe here so that I can do this again. You'll get notifications of future videos so that you'll know when we go live. Okay, thanks. I know it seems like I'm kind of uptight here. Sorry about that. Okay, well, anyway, we're going to talk about ACP observing plans, and it all starts here with ACP help about observing plans. Everything you need to know is in this document, and I'm going to basically stay on this a lot of the time and go over this to kind of guide you through the information. As you probably found out, there's a whole lot of information in ACP Help, and I want you all to know I don't expect people to go through all this stuff. I don't even expect people to look at all the videos. There's so much information here. So one of the reasons for these videos that I'm doing now, the live streams, is to be able to go over things in a sort of low stress environment, and you guys can ask questions while I'm talking and hopefully absorb a little bit and also be encouraged to go back and look and find out things that might help you for your particular mission. One of the things about ACP is that it can address both science and art, and within that realm, there's so many different things that you can do and so many ways that you can acquire images that it sometimes, drives you nuts trying to figure out what's there and what you can do. So let's get started. Going to ACP Help, making observing plans, right here, and here we are. So observing plans are not script. A lot of people call them scripts. I try to make a distinction between a script and a plan because the plan's declarative. It just tells you what you want ACP to do. It does not tell ACP in the order of slew here, open the shutter, close the shutter, save the image. It's not a program. It's not a list of instructions. It's a list of desires, if you want to put it that way. It's declarative. That makes it different from other automation where you actually have to give it step-by-step instructions on what to do. So keeping in mind that ACP is declarative, let's take a look at some sample plans. That's a good place to start. Excuse me. All right. The very simplest plan ever, right here. I want to take 300-second images of 3 different targets. This will work if you don't have filters and if you have the catalog installed, which gets installed with ACP. So this will actually take a 300-second image of M5, a 300-second image of M60, and a 300-second image of M104. How is that possible? It's declarative. And the interval is one of those things that goes from target to target to target. So if you want, you can just say once what interval, exposure interval you want, and then list the targets. One thing to keep in mind is that this form here doesn't look up in the Saguaro Astronomy Club or the PGC catalog. They're both included with ACP. If you want, you can name your target anything you want and then give it the RA, a tab, see how that, a tab, and then a deck. Another thing to notice is a semicolon starts a comment. So you can put anything you want out here just as something for you to keep track of and remind you what is going on. Here's the same thing, except we've supplied the coordinates instead of relying on the catalog. But you can name these things anything you want and supply the coordinates. They could be the Dick Berg Nebula and then some coordinates, and it would be just fine. Keeping in mind that these coordinates are J2000 coordinates. Why would that be? Why did I choose J2000? Because it's portable. Local, and now there's a big discussion on the ASCOM list right now about what local topocentric or JNOW or topocentric or whatever. Those coordinates are the ones that are specific to a location on the Earth and a time. And J2000 are mean coordinates, and they can be transformed for both the location and the time. So with ACP, you put in the coordinates in J2000. They're also the coordinates that are in all the catalogs for that reason. All right. I'm leading up to one of the most important concepts that you can understand, and I'll get back to that in just 2 seconds, but let's look at multiple images for stacking. All right, here we're going to take 5 60-second images of M5 and 5 60-second images of M60 and 5 60-second images of M104. What it says here is you could replace the repeat 5 with stack align 5. And what will happen if you say stack align 5 here is it'll take those 5 images, and then using Maxim, it will align them and stack them, and you'll end up with a stacked image. If you're operating remote, this can be a big win in terms of the amount of data that you have to send down the line to your machine from the remote observatory. So keep that in mind. All right, I'm going to stop right here and go back to making observing plans. And point you to the, oh boy, I have trouble. I don't know which one of these 2 windows that I should be scrolling. All right, so the overall format of the targets are the directives and target specifications. Directives are lines that begin with £. A target specification is what is the actual target, and that can be RA and DEC, it can be other things, as we'll see in a sec. So the directives precede the target, and that whole section of the plan is what you want to be done with this particular target. So let's look at some target specifications first. Deep sky objects, and that was what we saw as the first one, M51, PGC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Those things are in the Saguaro Astronomy Club catalog or the PGC catalog, both of which are built into ACP. And there's like 90,000 some odd objects in that. The sharpless objects. There's stuff that pretty much everything that most astroimagers would want to shoot at, or people hunting supernovae, that would be the PGC catalog. It's all there. So you can just specify the catalog name. The key here is that you have the catalog, a space, and then the number. Okay. For minor planets, that would be asteroids. You can say MP and then the minor planet name, number, or designation. And you have 3 ways of doing it. It will figure out what that is. And if you have the the Minor Planet Center catalog installed, it will go look that up and come back, calculate the ephemeris, point the telescope at the current location of that asteroid, and do your image. CT, same thing, except for comets. And then the tab delimited format, which I was talking about before, name, tab, J2000RA, tab, J2000DEC. Really simple. You don't have to say slew here. You don't have to do anything. You just put that in and that's it. ACP will move the scope to the area, take a quick pointing image, look at what's really at the center of the image, adjust it, center it, boom. Every time it goes to a new target, it'll assure that you're right on target. You don't have to worry about that. Another thing is, if you have comets or asteroids and they're not in the catalog, or you don't want to bother with that catalog and, oh, I've got to take an image of this thing, you can go to the Minor Planet Center and get the orbital elements in their native format. Now, they offer orbital elements in a boatload of other formats for different programs. ACP takes their native standard format. It's called the Minor Planet Center one-line blah. You use that. You don't use the, whatever other program format. You put those down as your target, and ACP will take those orbital elements, plug them into an ephemeris generator, come back with the correct RA and DEC for that instant, point the telescope, and take your image. So you can do that. And it will also optionally track the asteroid or comet if it's moving fast enough to make it worthwhile. And your telescope supports that. It'll actually start your telescope moving so that it'll follow the asteroid or comet, and it's more common with comets. And you'll end up with streak stars in a stationary comet, for example. Finally, one of the things in the early days of ACP that was really popular was shooting at NEOs, near-Earth asteroids, near-Earth objects, and they don't have orbital elements yet. And so the MPC publishes some ephemerides that are, the time and then the RA and DEC, J2000, of course. So you take and you set it up so that the MPC gives you hourly elements over 4 or 5 hours, because you don't know exactly when you're going to take the image. And ACP will do a Lagrange interpolation of those things, figure out where give its best estimate of where the asteroid would be at that time, point the scope and take your image, and optionally track it. So I'm going to stop here. If any of you have any questions about what I've covered so far, that is the types of targets that you can put into an ACP observing plan, please ask now. I'm going to look here and look. Here's a plan with some asteroid elements. Okay. And if you have the MPC catalog, the Minor Planet Center's orbital elements catalog, you can do it this way instead. If you'll notice, there is a comet named Denny, 23257. You can specify it by its number or its name. Thanks to Bill Young, back in the old days, I helped him get on the air and become the first amateur to be designated by the Minor Planet Center as a survey. And in return, he named an asteroid after me. That's a pretty early one, as you can see by the number. Okay. Anyway, let's go back. All right, if nobody has any questions about the target formats, Oh, by the way, if you're bored, if I'm covering stuff that is just too elementary, please also let me know. Please let me know. I respond to questions a lot better than I do just sitting here talking. So if you have inputs or anything, please give me some feedback. All right. One of the things that's really important to understand if you're going to get past the very basics with ACP plans is the 3 levels of looping that you can do in a plan. If you look here, the simplest is the filter groups, and these are counts. Okay, so this is the count level. Right here, what this little section says is do 2 images in red. I'm sorry, do 5 images in red at binning 2. So count 5, binning 2, filter red. Followed by 8 images in clear at binning 1, followed by 5 images in binning 2 in green, and 10 images at binning 2 in blue. So these numbers here are the counts. And what I didn't say is that the red images are to be done at 180 seconds, the clear at 240, the green at 180, and the blue at 180. So this simple little plan is saying how many images? 5 plus 8 plus 5 plus 10. 28 images. And if you multiply by the seconds, you can figure out how long that's going to take. This is the count level of looping. So, as it says, 28 images of M51, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And one thing to keep in mind, the number of items in each series must match. So if you said binning 2122 and then you said count 585, the plan compiler will tell you, whoops, these things, the number of loops and binnings and counts don't match. And you'll get a compile error on the plan and it won't run it. Okay, so they all have to be, in this case, there are 4 filters, 4 binning levels, 4 counts, and 4 intervals. As long as you keep the groups as 4 each, you'll be good. All right. Now, you can multiply, as it says here, with a target, the whole target by a repeat. So now we've got counts. Now we're going to the next level of repetition, and that's the repeat directive. What this says is repeat this whole thing 3 times. See if I can get this highlighted here. There you go. All right, so what we looked at up above, that by adding the repeat 3, now this whole process is going to repeat 3 times. So here you go. This specifies 28 times 3, the repeat 3 is 84 images. You can always go back to this info, right? It's under Making Observing Plans. ACP Help, Acquiring Images Automatically, Making Observing Plans, and then go down here and read. Now, there's another level of repetition that's available. Sets. So here's an ACP plan that shows the 3 repeats that we just looked at of M51. In addition, 2 repeats of M13. It's hard for me to highlight this stuff. There we go. Plus 2 repetitions of M13. Now let's look at this. All it has in here is the repeat of 2 and the count of 6, 10, 7, and 15. What about filter, binning, and interval? They carry across, and I'm going to show you in a minute how to tell which directives carry across, which directives are for each individual target, and which directives apply to the whole plan. I hope that makes sense. So here we have a plan that says repeat twice, take 6 images in red at a binning of 2 and 180 seconds, followed by 10 images binning 1 in clear for 240 seconds, and so forth. So it is as though these directives here, binning, interval, and filter, were again repeated down here, but you don't have to because they carry from target to target. It's a shortcut. I hope that makes sense. Now, what does sets do? That repeats the entire plan more than once. So what happens when you add a sets to or a sets whatever onto the plan is it does this one, then it does this one, then it comes back and does this one again, and it does this one again. So you have lots of levels of repetition. You can set up complicated plans and not have to write a lot. I hope I'm making sense to you guys. Forget this mixing old and new target formats. This is for people who've been customers for more than 10 years and before the multiple counts were supported. All right. So what are these directives that you see? Binning, filter, all of that. There's a whole lot of them. These affect the next target. And this says, remember I said that repeat would repeat that target? We'll go back here again and look at this. I said you can multiply a filter's target group with the repeat directive. Okay, repeat 3 means you're going to do each one of you're going to take these images 1, 2, 3 times. Okay, so repeat, calibrate, auto guide, stack align. I'm not going to go through all this because this would be death by PowerPoint effectively. You can find this stuff. There are some things in here that you can use to increase your cadence. That is, if you're doing rapid imaging for time series or other things where you don't want a lot of overhead, you can force this thing not to do the web previews, not to do plate solves while you're acquiring images, not to do pointing updates, or if you have them turned off, you can force it to do a pointing update. And I know this is confusing, but I understand why it's there, and I credit Dick Berg for suggesting being able to turn it off and then force it on, or turn it on and force it off. Not bad. Now, the wait things are pretty important. I'm going to show you some examples of that. Anyway, all of these things that you see here, you may want, if you're science guys, you may want to notice that you can wait until a zenith distance or an air mass. So you can have the plan stop and wait till your target gets to a certain air mass and then continue. Lots of stuff here. The next group of directives affect all of the current target and all of the ones after that. And you've seen them already: count, interval, filter, and so forth. And I'm not going to go through all this stuff. Sets. All right, AF interval is an important one. If you want ACP to focus on a regular basis, you can put this into your plan, and as it's going along, when the time elapses, it will stop, go off, do an autofocus, and come back. And I am just going to go through this and point out that there's a lot of stuff in here that you can study later. We're up to almost 25 minutes, so I don't want to run overly long here. Let's go back to the sample observing plans. I want to point a couple of other things out. I was pointing out the wait until. Let's look at this plan. There's a lot here. Again, you can get to these samples and the explanations as to what they do from ACP Help, Acquiring Images Automatically, Making Observing Plans, Sample Observing Plans, or just go straight to Sample Observing Plans here. Okay, let's go down and look at this one. This is a good one. I'm going to have to skip dusk flats for the time being. What this does in brief is it chains to another ACP acquisition script that does the dusk flats. I plan on doing another video on how to do flats because it's a big topic. So we'll skip that. In any case, if you have everything set up, this will do dusk flats, and then it will wait until 0300 UTC. The point here I want to point out is, what's this 1? Do you remember the sets directive where you could repeat an entire plan more than once? Let's say you had a plan that you wanted to repeat 5 times. You would not want your plan to wait until 0300 UTC every time it went through the loop, right? No. You'd only want it to wait the first time, or maybe you want to have it wait till a different time for each set. Let's say set 1, you want it to wait till 0300. In set 2, you want it to wait till 0345. Set 3, you want it to wait till 0410 or whatever. So the 1 is the set number. It has to be there. So wait during set 1 until 0300 if you have sets. If you don't have any sets, well, it's always set 1, right? So you've seen this, you know what this does, you know what this does. Well, here we are. Okay, now we have the plan wait until 0730. We do some more acquisitions, and notice that everything but the count is the same as for the previous one. So I use 180 seconds for red, 240 for clear, 180 for green, and 240 for blue. And binning here. So we do that. And then the last thing we do is dawn flats. That will wait until the sky gets just right. Or if you have a panel, it will just go over to your panel and do the flats. Either way. The next thing, and this is some more directives, close the dome. Ignore the weather in case the weather gets unsafe during this, because if it does, it'll kill your script. And then take a bunch of dark frames and binning. And bias frames. Once you've taken the dark and bias frames, you do a shutdown. Your night's over. That will close up, warm the cooler, park the scope, and put everything to bed, basically, except shut the power down. Okay, I'm hoping that I've been able to encourage you to go back and look at the information on these pages, because there's a whole lot here, and I can't go over it all. We're up to a half an hour now, and that's been pretty long. So, again, the place to look is ACP Help, Acquiring Images Automatically, Making Observing Plans. And there's additional information on asteroids and comets and how to handle those. We looked a little bit at that before, but there's more info here. Or NEO ephemerides. Here's where you handle the flat fields, and there's a lot of info here on how to take flat fields, both sky flats and panel flats, and how to get them set up. Mind you, once you get it set up, it's extremely easy, especially if you use the web interface. As I say, I will cover flats later. Auto calibration, and so forth. So I think I've pretty much covered everything other than there's a whole lot of little things I could cover, but I think we've burned up almost a half hour here, and I'm hoping that I've helped some of you, at least encouraged you to go look at this information here in making observing plans and see what you can do with ACP plans. If you've been using ACP Planner, you'll have seen the plans that it produces. Hopefully this will help you understand those plans a little bit. And as you noticed, when you finish making a plan with ACP Planner, it puts it up in Notepad and allows you to go in and add, subtract, or adjust things afterwards, because I can't address, there's no one size fits all for planners. So that phase afterwards is what I provide so that you can make adjustments for your specific mission. And there's so many that I couldn't even imagine, I try to address the common denominator things and then provide you with ways to address your specific mission. That's been really one of the most fun parts of designing ACP and implementing it, is addressing such a wide variety of mission, all the way from the most demanding high cadence photometry scientific missions all the way to the really slow long image astrophotography ones. Each has their own challenges, and I've tried to do my very best to address all of them. All right. Thank you, Stacy. I appreciate the encouragement, and thank you for coming and visiting. Thanks everybody else for visiting. I was so surprised to find out that we had 100 subscribers on the channel now. That's a big jump from 2 weeks ago. We'll go back here and have a look. I did this out of order. Just a sec. Again, I encourage you to, if you're here for the first time, subscribe to our channel here. And if you do, then hit the little bell, and that'll give you the notifications when we have new programs. I also put the notifications on the DC3 Dreams Comm Center. I will take a look at that just a minute, and that is right here. So this will be gone tomorrow morning, and our video will be up with the test pattern stuff trimmed from the front. But you'll always find the videos here, and you can go to our channel this way. And as you might guess, what's on the channel right now is me. I'm not going to jump in here because you'll end up getting one of those spooky things that have one screen after another. So, okay. Well, thank you very, very, very much for visiting. Thanks for the nice compliment there, Stacy. And I know there are more than just Stacy and Dick and Stevie watching. I think right now it's showing 9. That's good. So we'll just keep doing these every couple of weeks. 2 weeks from now will be another similar type of thing on how to get the most out of ACP Scheduler. Well, I don't know, man. It's looking good. Dick, I'm sorry, but I'm seeing it here on my monitor, my iPad, and it's working fine. So, anyway, I'm quite sure it's working okay here. Anyway, thank you everybody for joining in. Again, please subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. Take care.